It's a Tuesday morning. She's 54 years old. She poured her coffee, noticed her hand felt a little clumsy, and thought, I must be tired. She drove her kids to school. She went to work. By 3 p.m., she was on a gurney in the emergency room, unable to speak. Every year, nearly 800,000 people in the United States alone suffer a stroke. What most people don't realize is that for many of them, the brain sent out distress signals hours, sometimes a full day, before the major event. Those signals were missed. Not because people didn't care, but because nobody told them what to look for. Until today. In the next 30 minutes, you're going to learn exactly what a stroke looks like the day before it happens. You'll learn why the brain gives warnings, what those warnings feel like from the inside, what they look like from the outside, and what you must do the moment you recognize one. This video could save your life. It could save someone you love. Stay with me. But real quick before we dive in, if you're new here, welcome. This channel is all about giving you honest, practical health information that actually helps you make better decisions for yourself and your family. We are on a mission to reach 1,000 subscribers, and every single person who joins this community genuinely matters to us. So if you find today's video helpful, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. It costs you nothing, and it means the absolute world to us. Okay, now let's really get into it. Segment 2. Understanding what a stroke actually is. Before we talk about warning signs, you need to understand what's actually happening inside the brain during a stroke. Because once you understand the mechanism, the symptoms will make complete sense. Your brain is the most metabolically active organ in your body. It makes up only about 2% of your body weight, but it consumes roughly 20% of your body's oxygen and glucose supply every single minute of every day. To fuel that demand, your brain relies on a constant, uninterrupted flow of blood through a network of arteries. A stroke happens when that blood flow is interrupted. There are two main types of stroke. The first, and by far the most common, is an ischemic stroke. This accounts for roughly 87% of all strokes. It happens when a blood clot or plaque buildup blocks an artery leading to the brain, cutting off oxygen to brain tissue. The second type is a hemorrhagic stroke. This happens when a weakened blood vessel ruptures and bleeds into or around the brain. It's less common, but often more severe. Here's what makes strokes so terrifying, and why time is everything. Brain cells don't have a backup energy supply. When blood flow stops, neurons begin to malfunction almost immediately. Within 4 to 6 minutes, cells begin to die. Within hours, entire regions of the brain can be permanently damaged. But here's what gives us hope, and what this video is really about. Studies show that a significant number of major strokes are preceded by what doctors call a transient ischemic attack, or TIA, in the hours or days before. A TIA is sometimes called a mini-stroke, but that name is dangerously misleading. There is nothing mini about it. A TIA is a full-blown neurological emergency that happens to resolve on its own, but it is screaming at you that a larger stroke may be coming. Segment 3. The concept of the warning day. Let's talk about what neurologists and stroke specialists refer to as the warning window, the 24 hours before a major stroke when the brain is struggling, signaling, and trying to compensate. This is where lives are saved or lost. The reason a warning window exists comes down to how strokes develop. In ischemic strokes, the most common kind, the blockage often doesn't happen all at once. A clot may partially block an artery, reduce blood flow significantly, cause symptoms, then temporarily break up or shift. Blood flow returns. Symptoms go away. The person feels better. And that's the trap. When symptoms go away on their own, the human brain has a powerful tendency to explain them away. I was dehydrated. I didn't sleep well. I've been under a lot of stress. It was probably just a headache. But the clot hasn't gone away. The underlying risk hasn't changed. And statistically, the risk of a full stroke in the 48 hours following a TIA is dramatically elevated. One major study found that the 2-day stroke risk after a TIA was as high as 10%. Others placed that risk even higher without treatment. 10% doesn't sound like much until it's you, or your mother, or your spouse. Now, let's get into the actual warning signs, what they look like, what they feel like, and why each one happens. Segment 4. The warning signs, in detail. Warning sign number 1, sudden face drooping. The most visually recognizable warning sign of stroke is sudden drooping or weakness on one side of the face. You might notice it in yourself in the mirror, or you might notice it in someone else. Ask them to smile. If one side of the face doesn't move, or moves significantly less than the other, that is a red flag. This happens because the motor cortex, the part of the brain that controls facial muscles, is being deprived of blood. When only one hemisphere is affected, only one side of the face shows it. Here's an important nuance. Facial drooping from a stroke typically affects the lower face, the cheek, the corner of the mouth. If drooping affects the entire side of the face, including the forehead, it may point to a different cause. A neurologist makes this distinction, but you are not the neurologist in this moment. Your job is to call for help. Warning sign number 2, arm weakness or numbness. Sudden weakness or numbness in one arm is another critical warning sign. The key word here is sudden and one-sided. This isn't the general tiredness you feel after a workout. This isn't the pins and needles you get after sleeping on your arm. This is a sudden, unexplained loss of strength or sensation in an arm that was working fine moments ago. Ask the person, or ask yourself, to raise both arms above your head and hold them there for 10 seconds. If one arm drifts downward or can't be raised at all, that is a neurological red flag. This weakness occurs because the motor pathways running from the brain down the spinal cord are being interrupted. These pathways cross at the base of the brainstem, which is why a stroke on the left side of the brain affects the right side of the body, and vice versa. Warning sign number 3, speech problems. Sudden difficulty speaking or understanding speech is one of the most frightening warning signs, and one of the most commonly dismissed. There are a few forms this can take. The first is slurred speech. Words come out garbled, thick, difficult to understand. The person knows what they want to say, but their mouth isn't cooperating. The second is expressive aphasia. The person cannot find the words. They might say the wrong word. They might say something that sounds like a real sentence but makes no sense. They might go completely silent, struggling to form any words at all. The third is receptive aphasia. The person cannot understand what you're saying to them. You speak clearly, and they look at you confused, responding inappropriately or not at all. These speech symptoms arise because language centers, primarily Broca's area and Wernicke's area, are in the left hemisphere of the brain in most people. When blood flow to this region is compromised, language breaks down rapidly. A simple test. Ask the person to repeat a simple phrase. The sky is blue today. If they can't repeat it clearly, or if what they say doesn't match what you said, treat it as an emergency. Warning sign number 4, sudden severe headache stroke. Survivors and neurologists often describe a hemorrhagic stroke as producing the worst headache of my life, and that description is famous in emergency medicine for a reason. When a blood vessel ruptures inside or around the brain, the sudden pressure and irritation of the brain's lining creates an explosive, catastrophic headache that comes on with no warning. Not a headache that builds gradually, a headache that arrives at full intensity, almost instantly. This is called a thunderclap headache. If you or someone nearby describes a headache as the worst they've ever had, one that came on suddenly and is not explained by any obvious cause, treat it as a stroke emergency until proven otherwise. Importantly, in the day before a stroke, some people report milder but unusual headaches that feel different from any headache they've had before. They may describe a pressure, a heaviness, a fullness at the back of the head or behind the eyes. Don't dismiss this if it comes with any other symptoms on this list. Warning sign. Number 5. Sudden vision changes. The visual system is one of the most complex in the human brain, with connections spread across multiple regions of the cortex. When blood flow is compromised, vision disturbances can be dramatic and unmistakable. Warning signs related to vision include Sudden loss of vision in one eye, sometimes described as a shade being pulled down over the eye. This is called amaurosis fugax and is a classic TIA warning sign. Double vision, suddenly seeing two of everything without any other explanation. Loss of half the visual field, not one eye, but the left or right half of what both eyes see together. This is called a hemianopia and indicates damage to the visual cortex, blurring or darkening of vision that isn't explained by tiredness. The insidious thing about visual TIA symptoms is that they often resolve within minutes. Vision comes back. People breathe a sigh of relief and move on. This is the worst possible response. If your vision suddenly failed in one eye for even 30 seconds with no obvious cause, you need emergency evaluation. Warning sign number 6, sudden dizziness, loss of balance, or coordination problems. The cerebellum, the region at the back of the brain responsible for coordination and balance, is fed by its own set of blood vessels. When those vessels are compromised, the breakdown is physical and visible. Sudden dizziness that is new and severe, particularly when it's combined with other symptoms, is a stroke warning sign. So is sudden difficulty walking, a feeling that the room is spinning, or a sudden inability to coordinate movements that are normally automatic. An important note here: dizziness alone has many causes, most of them benign. Inner ear problems, dehydration, low blood pressure, anxiety, all can cause dizziness. The key word again is sudden, and whether other symptoms are present. Dizziness combined with slurred speech, vision changes, or one-sided weakness is a stroke pattern until proven otherwise. Warning sign number 7, sudden confusion or disorientation. This is perhaps the most commonly dismissed warning sign, because confusion has so many other causes, and because a confused person may not realize they're confused. Watch for a person who seems suddenly unable to understand where they are. A person who is doing something routine, cooking, driving, having a conversation, and suddenly stops, stares, and seems not there. A person who repeats the same question or statement, seemingly unaware they just asked it. A person who seems agitated, frightened, or inexplicably tearful without cause. This type of confusion differs from general forgetfulness or distraction. It is sudden. It is inconsistent with how the person was behaving moments before, and the person may be completely unaware that anything is wrong, which is exactly why someone nearby needs to recognize it and act. Segment 5. The FAST and BE-FAST acronyms. You've probably heard of FAST, the stroke recognition acronym taught in first aid courses around the world. Let's go over it and then expand it. F. Face. Is one side of the face drooping? Ask them to smile. Is it uneven? A. Arms. Can they raise both arms? Does one drift downward? S. Speech. Is their speech slurred or strange? Can they repeat a simple sentence? T. Time. Time to call emergency services. Right now. Not in a few minutes. Not after seeing if it gets better. Now. But medical organizations have now expanded FAST to BE-FAST, adding 2 earlier warning signs that are just as important. B. Balance. Sudden loss of balance or coordination. E. Eyes. Sudden vision changes, double vision, or loss of vision in one eye. Print this out. Put it on your refrigerator. Teach it to your kids. Send it to your parents. This acronym, acted on quickly, has saved thousands of lives. It could save yours. Segment 6. Who is at risk, and why you might be surprised. There is a deeply harmful myth about stroke that we need to dismantle right now. Stroke is not just an old person's disease. Stroke rates in younger adults, people in their 30s and 40s, have been rising. Studies have shown significant increases in stroke hospitalizations among people aged 18 to 45 over the past 2 decades. Researchers point to rising rates of high blood pressure, obesity, diabetes, and sleep apnea in younger populations as key drivers. The major risk factors for stroke include high blood pressure, the single most important modifiable risk factor, atrial fibrillation, an irregular heart rhythm that can cause blood clots, diabetes, high cholesterol, smoking, obesity, physical inactivity, excessive alcohol consumption, a history of TIA or prior stroke, family history of stroke, migraine with aura. Yes, this is a genuine risk factor, particularly in women. High blood pressure deserves special emphasis. The majority of people with dangerously elevated blood pressure feel completely normal. No headache, no symptoms, no warning, until the day something gives way. If you do not know your blood pressure, find out today. It is one of the most powerful things you can do for your brain health. Segment 7. What to do if you recognize the signs. You've recognized the signs, in yourself or in someone else. Here is exactly what you do. Step 1. Call emergency services immediately. In the United States, that's 911. In the UK, 999. In most of Europe, 112. Do not drive yourself or the person to the hospital unless you have no other option. Emergency responders can begin assessment and alert the hospital while in transit. Every minute matters. Step 2. Note the exact time the symptoms began. This is not a trivial detail. The most powerful treatment for ischemic stroke, a clot-dissolving medication called TPA, can only be administered within a specific time window from symptom onset. Doctors will ask you this question the moment you arrive. Know the answer. Step 3. Do not give the person food, water, or any medication. Stroke can impair swallowing, creating a choking and aspiration risk. And aspirin, though sometimes recommended in heart attacks, should only be given for stroke if emergency services advise it, because hemorrhagic stroke can be made significantly worse by blood thinners. Step 4. Keep the person calm. Help them sit or lie down in a safe, comfortable position. Do not leave them alone. Speak to them calmly and reassuringly. If they lose consciousness, place them in the recovery position if you know how. Monitor their breathing. Step 5. And I cannot emphasize this enough. Do not wait to see if symptoms improve. This is the decision that costs lives. TIA, symptoms by definition, resolve on their own. But their resolution is not reassurance. It is a countdown. Get to a hospital. Let doctors determine what happened. Segment 8. Prevention. The most powerful tool you have. We've talked about recognizing a stroke. Now, let's talk about preventing one, because up to 80% of strokes are considered preventable with lifestyle changes and medical management. The most impactful things you can do, supported by decades of research. Know and manage your blood pressure. Check it regularly. If it's elevated, work with a doctor. Medication, reduced sodium, exercise, and stress management all help. Don't smoke. Smoking doubles the risk of ischemic stroke. If you smoke, quitting is the single most impactful change you can make for your vascular health. Manage diabetes and cholesterol. Both damage blood vessels over time in ways that set the stage for stroke. Move your body. Regular, moderate aerobic exercise. Even 30 minutes of brisk walking most days. Significantly reduces stroke risk. Eat for your arteries. A diet rich in vegetables, fruits, whole grains, and healthy fats, and low in processed foods and excess sodium, protects blood vessels. Limit alcohol. Heavy drinking raises blood pressure and increases risk of both stroke types. Know if you have atrial fibrillation. AFib is often silent. If you're over 50 or have risk factors, ask your doctor about screening. Blood thinners prescribed for AFib can dramatically reduce stroke risk. Segment 9. Closing. Remember this. Let's go back to Tuesday morning. She poured her coffee. She noticed her hand felt clumsy. And this time, because she watched a video like this one, she stopped. She sat down. She raised both arms. One didn't go all the way up. She called for help. She was in the emergency room within 40 minutes of her first symptom. Doctors found a clot. They treated it. She went home 5 days later. She learned her grandchildren's names again within a month. That outcome is not luck. That outcome is knowledge. The brain gives warnings. Not always. Not to everyone, but often enough. Often enough that what you learn today matters. Remember, be fast. Balance. Eyes, face, arms, speech, time. Share this video. Not because of the view count, because the person who needs to see this is probably someone you know, and they don't know they need to see it. Stroke is a medical emergency, but it is also one of the most survivable, most treatable emergencies in medicine, when caught in time. Now you know what to look for. Act on it.